Hey, what is going on, Wildlife X team? This is Michael here, and in today's video we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic, which is what if an asteroid hit the Earth? What would be the result of this scenario? How would it affect wildlife, and how would the Earth change? Of course, we can't say with certainty what would happen. However, we can look into the past when a previous meteor or asteroid has hit the Earth and almost completely wiped out Earth's wildlife. So we're going to be using a little bit of information from that, as well as some hypothesis of what would happen in the future to try explain and determine what would happen if an asteroid or a meteor hit the Earth. First off, asteroids move very, very quickly. They usually are moving at about 30 kilometers per second, and so a 10-kilometer huge asteroid would have a devastating effect on the Earth's wildlife. It would completely change the Earth forever. Maybe not forever, but for a very, very long time, and it would very, very much mess up humanity and countries and the whole global economy. The impact site of where this asteroid would hit would be all but completely wiped out. It would be nothing but a crater. Surrounding countries or states, depending on which continent this thing hit, would be all but completely wiped out. It would be incinerated. It would be stronger than some of the most powerful nuclear weapons that we currently have. Even if this asteroid hit in the ocean, it would still wipe out nearby countries, and the resulting hurricanes, typhoons, tsunamis, everything that would result as this asteroid hits the ocean will be highly devastating as well. Small to medium-sized earthquakes would be felt all around the world. Areas that are more prone to higher level and more dangerous earthquakes would potentially feel high level, highly dangerous earthquakes. And of course, the area around the impact crater, of course you have your little zone which is completely wiped out, and then the little areas around that is going to experience a massive earthquakes. So no matter where the asteroid hit, if it was 10 kilometers long or big, and it was traveling at the typical 30 kilometers per second, the Earth would be in for a huge change. It doesn't matter if it landed in the middle of Nebraska and wiped out the United States of America, or if it landed in the middle of the ocean. One way or another, this is huge enough to completely mess up the Earth. And in fact, the deepest ocean is only 11 kilometers deep. I believe that's the Mariana Trench. And so even if it hit that ocean, like I said, that's going to cause tsunamis and typhoons and potential hurricanes, earthquakes, which is going to get the water flooding all around. The nearby coastal cities are going to be all but completely wiped out, even if it was in the middle of the ocean. And still the results of this is going to be drastic. It's going to change the Earth for millions of years to come. An impact as strong as this would throw up tons of dirt and rock all from the Earth. Now, some of this dirt and rock is going to be flown so fast into the atmosphere that it's going to completely leave the Earth's gravitational pull. But all the other dirt and dust and random stuff that was completely thrown up, that's going to come flying back down all around the world. What this is going to do is it's also going to create a massive cloud surrounding the Earth, which is going to block out all sunlight. And what it's going to do is it's going to cook up the Earth. The temperature is going to continuously rise because it's going to trap all of the heat, and it's just going to get hotter and hotter. As the rocks come down and rain terror on the cities, it's going to light up forest fires all around the world, and we're going to get cooked like a brutal, horrible oven. People in the African and very hot regions, kind of living near the equator, even if the asteroid did not hit that region, they're probably not going to make it, just because we're going to lose electricity, of course, and the Earth is just going to get so insanely hot that you're going to have to hope that you were living in a very far south region or a very far north region. The Earth is going to heat up, and then also what this cloud of dust is going to do is it's going to block out all sunlight. So it's going to look like a post-apocalyptic scene where it's not too bright, not too dark. It's kind of just in this creepy haze. There's going to be dust everywhere. The air is going to be polluted. Now, we could probably find a way to survive the air issues. However, it is going to cause massive negative effects, but the worst thing that's going to happen is because there's no more sunlight that can get in, all of the plant wildlife is going to die. Even the algae and the water, all the plant wildlife is just going to go because they need sun, and this is going to completely mess up the ecosystem. You see, plants are eaten by us humans, but also from small animals, which get eaten by larger animals, which get eaten by us, or they just die and the bacteria eats it. The bacteria gets eaten by whatever, it's an ecosystem. Everything's in balance. And so when you throw out all of the plant wildlife, these small animals are not going to be able to eat the plant wildlife to survive. Because these small animals aren't going to be able to eat that, they're going to die off. So the larger predators are going to die off. And that's going to cause a huge food crisis for us humans, and it's going to completely mess up the wildlife ecosystem. Because of the extreme heat and the lack of plant wildlife, it's probably safe to say that almost all water wildlife, except for very small bacteria that is living off of heat or kind of just surviving somehow, all plant wildlife as we know it is going to be completely destroyed. They're not going to be able to live, and also the sun or the earth is going to heat up massively and the water is going to get much warmer, and so all of the sea wildlife is probably going to die. As for land wildlife, it's hard to say if they would die off or not. Now, of course, the ecosystems are going to be hugely disrupted. It's going to be completely messed up, and almost all of it's going to die. Probably 90% of it's going to die off. It's going to completely mess up wildlife as we know it. However, we do know from the previous meteor or asteroid that kind of wiped out all of the dinosaurs, there were small wildlife animals that were able to survive it. So despite all of the hell going on, these creatures were underground, they were able to survive, and so there's just so much diversity on the Earth right now that unless things were changed too crazy, it's actually highly predictable that even in the event of a 10-kilometer huge asteroid hitting the Earth at a speed of 30 kilometers per second, there is probably going to be some wildlife on the Earth, quite a few actually, that survived all around the globe. Now, how they're going to continue surviving after the impact and after the first months when all of the plant wildlife die, that's going to be very interesting and hard to predict. However, we do know that wildlife is highly adaptable and it's going to find a way to create a new ecosystem and become balanced again. Now, the question we're probably wondering here is, would humans die off? And from the initial impact, no, we wouldn't. Humans would be surviving at least into the first month. Now, after this first month, that's when things get a little bit harder to predict. We do know that the Earth's temperature would increase dramatically. The cloud surrounding of dust and debris and everything, that would surround the Earth for about a year. And so for a year, the Earth will be much hotter. And so what's that going to do? That's going to raise the ocean levels because all of the ice is going to be melting. So coastal cities are going to be completely wiped out. The equator and anything kind of near that area is going to heat up dramatically. Now, without the sunlight, it's kind of hard to predict if we're going to get some sunlight, which would heat up the equator, or which areas of the Earth would be hotter than others. But it's very likely to predict that you're going to be most likely to survive if you were first underground or in a safe area during the initial impact. So maybe you were on a mountain and you were just safe in nature during all the earthquakes, so you didn't die. You were high up, so when the ocean levels rose, you didn't die. And then you were also in a cold area, so when the Earth's temperature increased, you were also surviving. So it's safe to say that while the majority of humans would suffer and probably die off, just like the land wildlife, it's safe to say that some people would survive the first month. Now, what happens after that? That's very hard to predict. I think we can agree that there would probably be some mass riots, chaos, destruction everywhere. People are going to be fighting for resources, wars, gangs. There's just going to be a lot of bloody violence because people are going to be fighting for resources, because you have to survive that first year before the sun comes back. And when the sun comes back after the debris has fallen, that's when the plant wildlife is going to come back, and that's when the ecosystem is going to begin restoring itself. Scientifically making any more predictions is going to be very hard. Me personally, I think that under certain circumstances, some isolated countries might be more likely to survive, or isolated groups of people. For example, you might have Inuit tribes in northern Canada that are more likely to survive because they're away from the ocean rising. Maybe they were away from the impact crater. They're in a colder area, so when the temperature increased, it didn't get too hot to kill them off. And then maybe, it just wasn't so much affected in that area, and they were somehow able to keep certain creatures alive. Or maybe Iceland would survive because it's an isolated country, and and when all the riots and whatnot break out, it could affect other countries and people that are highly populated, but maybe not a more diverse and rural area like Iceland. However, from that point forward, past the first month, it's very hard to predict what would happen. Would all of humanity die off before the 1 year mark when plant wildlife began getting restored and the ecosystem started coming back? Or would we all die off? Me personally, I think that somehow humanity would survive. It would be completely changed along with land wildlife. However, history has proven that humans are able to survive, and just a few are going to make it. Even if it's just a small tribe, that small tribe is all we need to begin reproducing and grow humanity to be as big as it is now again. What's going to happen then? We can't exactly predict. So we know scientifically that there's going to be a lot of debris. Plant wildlife is going to be completely eliminated until that 1 year mark, which in that 1 year is going to completely destroy the ecosystems. And what kind of happens in that 1 year? That's kind of up for our own imagination. So leave in the comment section below what you think would happen. Do you think humanity and all of the Earth's wildlife would go completely extinct? Or do you think that, we can be a bit more optimistic and that we would survive? I'm curious what you guys have to think. You guys have heard what is scientifically probably scientifically going to happen, as well as my opinion on what would happen according to the actual science. However, we want to hear what you guys have to think, so leave a comment below what you think would happen if a meteor hit the Earth, and if we like it, we'll give it that little heart badge next to it in the YouTube comment section. We really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and my name is Michael with Wildlife X Team. We thank you so much for watching this video, and we'll see you later. Thank you.